Welcome everyone to the very first episode of the Gathering Around the Table podcast, where I am your host, Mel the Maneater.
And I am Lucas Leander, your co-host.
And today we are going to dive right into the topic. We are talking about the announcement for the Marvel X Magic the Gathering set.
This is pretty exciting, though it would have been a lot more exciting a couple years ago. You know, if this had been timed when like Thanos, you know, he was snapping everybody out of existence, and you could have a mechanic integrated with that, it would have set the world on fire. Like collectors, people who play Magic, like us, like everyone would have been about it. So I am a little disappointed that it's going to be coming out 2025. Yeah, it's not even like super soon either.
I am very into. That's what we were talking about. So when this announcement came out, you would think for people who are in Magic the Gathering, you would think something this big. You know, a lot of people who like Magic the Gathering also like Marvel.
Yeah.
Or at least they did. And well, they still do, but it's complicated. We have a complicated relationship.
Marvel is great, okay, but there's too many movies.
Yeah.
And we're all burnt the hell out.
Yeah. And so when this announcement came out and I looked at Lucas and I was like, oh my God, Marvel's doing, Magic's doing a crossover with Marvel. Yeah. I feel like our reactions were a lot more tempered than I feel like they should have been. But only because I feel like, and I know a lot of people listening could probably relate to this, is a lot of people who enjoy Marvel are experiencing the Marvel burnout.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not even going to dig into this with other things, but like along with like Star Wars and even other Disney stuff and just a lot of, and honestly, so kind of Magic, like, and just like companies in general are kind of milking what they have a little too much. And we're experiencing, I'm trying to be kind.
No,
but yes, it's giving a lot of the fan base burnout.
Yeah.
And I have definitely experienced this. We both have experienced this with Marvel. And we talked about how if this set would have come out a couple years ago when you know, everyone, like, watching Marvel movies was the most exciting thing you could watch for a while there, and for a lot of people, and it was a super exciting thing to go see, and everyone loved Marvel, and when Endgame came out, it was just crazy that everyone was so excited for it, and no one was really feeling, I didn't feel that burnout there. Like, no. I was so excited. I was like, this is it. I'm going to be sad when it's over.
Yeah.
And then we all got this weird thrown for a loop because they just threw Eternals at us kind of way too quickly.
Yeah. Like,
and no one wanted, we were like, we're still grieving. I haven't gone through the 5 stages of mourning yet. I'm in stage 1 and you're throwing...
just the whole story. We had already spent a decade on the whole character arc.
Yeah.
And a whole story arc for a multitude of characters. Or was it more than a decade? It was a long time.
It was a long time, since we were in elementary school.
Yeah, so it didn't feel like we needed to immediately go into like phase 2 of the grander 4-phase plan or whatever they're saying.
And then on top of that, there were also all of the TV shows that were released. And I think that is truly what did it. Because it became very difficult for people to stay, I guess, up to date with Marvel. Because, I mean, that's what people did. When a Marvel movie came out, you watched it as soon as you could. And so you could talk about it with people. But then... like, you know, one show came out and everyone was like, oh, this will be really cool. But then another one came out and another one came out. And then it was so diluted that, you know, eventually we gave up. Yeah. Like, we watched, like, me and you really enjoy Loki. But, like, out of all, at least I know I enjoy Loki.
No, I love Loki. Loki's the one show I do love.
But, you know, there's plenty of shows that, like, we didn't get around to watching for, like, WandaVision we did watch, but didn't get around to it for a long time. And... There's I forget there's shows like Hawkeye and like the one with
there's just too much.
There's just too many.
There's just I guess there's not too much actually. I feel like there's too much for the quality that they are and for how people are just burnt out in general. But I kind of want to get off like the Marvel.
Yes, the Marvel focus.
Is I want to go into. I feel like the second half of why this wasn't as crazy as it could have been, is because there's so many Universes Beyond products.
Yes. Which relates to like how there's a ton of Marvel. Like I mean, they announced this and Doctor Who Universes Beyond is like still so young.
No, yeah, it's like there's like basically 2 Universes Beyond sets now coming out every single year.
And that's not including all the Secret Lair.
Yeah, it doesn't include Secret Lair, and those are like big sets. Like Lord of the Rings is a huge set.
It's a gigantic set.
Warhammer and Doctor Who were all these commanders and all this different stuff. And so I feel like that it's almost like it was like, oh, okay. Like when I saw when you showed me this on Twitter or whatever, I was just like, okay, makes sense. Like a little surprising because Marvel snaps a thing, but like, okay.
Yeah.
It didn't hit me like it should have hit me. Like when I learned about the Final Fantasy crossover, which we'll talk about in the next episode
probably.
I popped the hell off. Of course, I'm more of a gamer than I am a comic book lover, but like I popped off, and I think that has to do, I guess, less with the Universes Beyond burnout, more with the Marvel burnout. But I just feel like, I don't know, the announcement's like a little bit early. I feel like we didn't even really get anything. Like,
yeah, it was just a like very.
Like,
they're trying to reach
magic.
this nostalgia. Yeah, it's and I like it was creative.
It was cool.
It was creative, but they were trying to hit like a nostalgia point, I guess. And I just feel like, I think it did kind of hit, but it didn't hit as much for all the reasons we just previously talked about. And it doesn't help that I think they announced it way too early.
Yes.
I know they're trying to keep fans excited, but we already have so much to be excited about. And so it's like this set isn't coming out till 2025.
2025. Like, think about that. We are going to have all the sets this year. There is a ton of sets this year.
Yes.
You know, along with the Assassin's Creed and Fallout. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. Don't even get us started.
Don't get me started on that. All the sets next year, not including Ixalan this year, then whatever other sets are in 2025, and then we get to Final Fantasy, and it's like, are we going to start getting announced like, we're going to have Star Wars 2028? Like, cool, bro! And it's not even a video this time. This time it's just an image. It says Star Wars X Magic 2028. Like,
yeah. I think there definitely is
they're just trying to hype it up, which I understand.
And I respect that.
I'm hyped a little bit.
But there is also a secret to, I think instead of, like, yes, it's good to announce things sometimes early, but when there's so much coming out to be excited for, like, eventually people will start to forget about this announcement, because there's things that we need to focus on right now, and it kind of feels like it's maybe, you know, Wizards of the Coast and Magic are trying to do a bit of almost the opposite, because I'm like, why would you want to detract from things like Ixalan, which is coming out in November?
Yeah.
And that's a ton of people love Ixalan. It is a very popular set and playing in Magic.
I think it's because they know that for the most part, it won't detract from Ixalan, because they know that the Marvel thing is going to be something that this is going to allow them to get steam going. Like, all these outlets, like, you'll have like probably like news, like straight up news being like, oh, like Marvel's pairing up with Magic the Gathering, even if it's just for like stock prices and stuff. There'll be a lot of talk and stuff, and they know that the Marvel set is more of like, people who aren't even into Magic will collect it. They know it's going to be a big entry point for people to get into Magic, and I think it's a double-edged sword, and that's what it's really basically.
But aside from announcements and our feelings about the announcements, I kind of want to dig into the fun part about this, which is, because let's be real, as much as we're talking about how it's kind of weird and how early it is, I'm going to be buying things from this set. That does not, like, this is going to be a very fun set, especially if they're going for, I mean, from the teaser trailer, they kind of were really poking at, like, the comic book part of it, which makes me think that they're going to, I don't necessarily think they're going to only focus on the comics, but I do think there are going to be a lot of alt comic arts.
Yes.
I think that's going to be like a showcase thing.
Literally, it's so funny we're on the same track with it, because as you were talking, I was like, oh my god, alternate like comic book scene art, that's gonna be insane. I want to like say it, and I was like, wait, let her finish, and then you said it. That's gonna be crazy.
Like much how like with the Doctor Who, there was the TARDIS showcase frame. I think it's going to be like a comic book frame, and I think that that's going to look sick.
And even like maybe foils with, you know how like old comic books have like the dotted lines.
Oh,
they have like foils.
Oh my gosh, so kind of like the confetti foil.
Yes,
but it's a comic foil.
Yes, comic foil.
So it has a more textured look to it. Oh my god, that'd be
pretty cool.
So I do have a couple comics myself, but not a lot. I think I have like 1 or 2 Captain America and Wonder Woman comics, but I've always been, like a lot of people, introduced more heavily into Marvel through the movies and through the shows or what have you, that I've watched growing up.
Yeah.
And so I personally really want to see cards that do reference the movies. And honestly, I think they would, considering, again, we're shocked that Disney agreed to do this collaboration because first of all, Disney Lorcana exists, Marvel Snap exists, so many IPs Disney has that already have like card adjacent or just straight up card games, and so I can't imagine they would have these cards exist without some homage paid to specifically the movies.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because usually Disney likes to keep things pretty in-house,
pretty airtight,
even in like gaming, like video games. Like a lot of their stuff, like you would think, just like pair it up with Sony or Microsoft,
with a big company,
or Nintendo, or a lot of time they don't end up actually doing that. They just keep it in house, but they want that control.
They're gonna go big, like with this pairing. Like they don't normally put things out of house. They like to keep things in house, and because they are having something go out, they want it to be big.
Yeah.
And I honestly think, and I was talking to other people about this, that part of the reason that Disney maybe agreed to it is because they are starting Lorcana, because they are starting their own card games and diving more into this like tabletop gaming, industry, that they want to get exposure into a tabletop game that has a big fan base.
Yeah.
We looked it up the other day, and it's something like 40 million people play Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Like roughly. According to Google, so
it could be more, it could be less, and like, I think there's a lot they can do with this, and I think the most exciting thing is going to be what versions of characters they're going to represent, because obviously there's like so many different ages of X-Men and of like Captain America, and so many different versions of them. I'm interested to see, will there be multiple Captain Americas, or will there be multiple, in like how they'll be represented.
There's also the whole like multi-dimension thing, like the multiverse of madness and stuff like that.
The multiverse in Plane Chase.
Oh my gosh.
That's how they're probably going to end up doing some Plane Chase.
That would be
stuff.
really cool. One thing that just mentioning this, I don't know if they would pay homage to this, but there was the whole like What If series that was on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
That was that whole like in another universe where Peggy is Captain America instead of, Steve.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I think that would be really interesting. I could definitely see them doing this. Loki is a very loved character. He's definitely a fan favorite amongst Marvel fans. And I think because this is something that I think they're starting to do more frequently, as we've seen from the Lord of the Rings set.
Okay.
From the Doctor Who set. Serialized cards. What is going to be their serialized card?
Stones.
Infinity. Oh, I didn't even think of
Infinity
that.
Stones.
Or, because I'm like...
those artifacts are going to go nuts.
Yeah, like all 5 Infinity Stones.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be kind of crazy.
And the Infinity Gauntlet, of course. But I also was thinking, what if they did something about, like, Loki?
Hold up. Infinity Gauntlet. Oh, that's a crazy card. Infinity Gauntlet attaches to the creature. You have the Infinity Stones that are like almost like artifacts, but then you can then equip them to the Infinity Gauntlet. So they're like, they work by themselves, but then you equip them to the Infinity Gauntlet. Then when they get the full thing, you can fucking like, I don't know, tap creature, destroy half of all.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, like the snap. But then your creature dies. Because they can't, because remember...
Thanos lived.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that...
Then you need Thanos.
Yeah, so the only thing...
I think that's weak. I think that's so much set up to, like, half a board wipe and you kill your own creature. That's, like, that is too weak. We gotta do that.
Well, Tony Stark didn't survive it, so...
He's weak. He's a human.
Adding on to the serialized Infinity Stones, I think it would be cool. And something that they could do is have like the serialized Loki variants.
Okay.
Because that's like a whole thing. I mean, that's like, they have a whole friggin' show where it's just like all the different versions of Loki and him like being diffracted into time and stuff like that. I could see them maybe doing something like that. Or I don't know. There's so many different things that they can make serialized. I'm interested to see what they pick. Because they could just pick like the Avengers. Maybe each member of the Avengers is a serialized card. Or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could also see them taking the Infinity Stones and making them into the equivalent of like a Moss Diamond.
Okay.
And so like those like, gem kind of artifacts that tap for mana.
Okay.
Or not. I mean, I do think it would be cool if they were their own like artifact. And then when you get, maybe there's a rainbow deck that they can make that's kind of, and then the Infinity Gauntlet is in there.
Yeah. Well, what is, yeah, I guess you could have like each Infinity Stone attached to like a color. Well, I'm forgetting which colors are which. I don't know if it works actually.
I mean,
I'm forgetting the colors for the Infinity Stone. But I want to kind of go over what you think are like, first, what commander decks do you think they're going to be? Because obviously there's going to be 4 commander decks. So who gets those 4 spots? Who gets to be the 4 commanders? I think they're gonna try to make it as kind of like Doctor Who. There's so many doctors. They're like, okay, we're gonna have a doctor, we're gonna have partners, and they do a lot to make it so that you can kind of like, I don't know, you can like switch out doctors and stuff.
I think, okay, so based off of kind of the recipe that they've been going with for the last like couple universes beyond, one of them inevitably has to be a bad guy deck. And I think it could.
If they don't do Thanos, I'm going to slap someone.
I think it could be Thanos, or because Loki's a fan favorite, it could be like Loki, the god of mischief. And I think that would be a really cool commander. But that's just like, also me as a very big fan.
I feel like that gets vetoed.
Oh my god.
I feel like it needs to be someone huge, like Thanos, or like.
Well, we also have to think about that there could be like alternate commanders. Like it could be. Because I do think if they really are taking Marvel as a whole, there are so many. I know, it's huge. Like, aside from the event, there's X-Men.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different like superheroes and villains in Marvel. They're so spread out. I really do think if they're going for, like, the wide board, they're trying to get as many Marvel things in there as possible. I think the Avengers are their own consolidated commander deck.
So, let's see. You have Avengers with maybe...
I feel like Captain America, Captain America or Iron Man. One of them is your commander, easy. or like Captain America is the featured commander and Iron Man is the ult or something.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then I don't know if they would do this, but I do think. Well, they did. Wasn't the kid like flipping through an X-Men book?
I can't remember.
I thought he was in the trailer for the Marvel X Magic. I think. An X-Men, they're going to be going into that phase with the movies where I think they're doing X-Men like relatively soon, like the next 3 years, and so I feel
isn't Deadpool and aren't Deadpool like I swear to God Deadpool and Wolverine I think are getting another movie. Like aren't they doing like Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, like they did a whole thing where they're like we're making another movie.
I think that's different. That's separate from like the X-Men that they're doing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know how that's still connected. Wolverine. Because Deadpool, there's no way...
He's a loose cannon.
No, there's no way Disney's throwing away like all the X-Men money so that they can have Wolverine, an integral part, be strapped to an R-rated Deadpool movie.
This is true.
That's not happening.
Do we get a Deadpool card?
Oh yeah, we had like here's the thing. I think we get basically a card. We get Guardians of the Galaxy cards. We get everything.
That's right.
But I think there I think there should be an X-Men deck.
I agree.
X-Men deck, Avengers deck.
Well, think about how
villain deck.
Personally, I grew up loving the X-Men.
Okay.
Like whenever those movies came out, I watched every single one. Mm-hmm. And I also loved Wolverine. And I think I fell in love with them before I fell in love with the Avengers.
Okay.
And so obviously they didn't do X-Men as much justice as I think they should have.
Yeah.
But I think that as a commander, just as a deck period, or as cards, that would be a really interesting deck, you know,
Yeah.
like with all the mutants and
Yeah, I
stuff
know.
like that.
Mutate.
Like it
That doesn't
no,
work at all.
that doesn't work at all.
Doesn't work at all.
But I just think that I really do think the X-Men should get their own commander deck. They deserve it.
Okay.
And I think the Avengers get their own commander deck. And then I think the villains combined from both
Yeah.
get their own commander
Yes.
deck. Like,
But who gets the fourth? Who's
That's
the
the-
fourth?
I think I don't even know. I feel like that could be possibly like Guardians of the Galaxy, like, because they are a part of the Avengers, but they are a little bit their own separate, like, I mean, they're in space. Like, as much as the Avengers are the Avengers and they're huge, they, like, Guardians of the Galaxy are very much, like, kind of in their own world or the universe, because they're the only, like, Marvel superheroes that we've seen, at least in the movies, that are consistently interacting with things that the Avengers do not.
Okay.
And so I could see them possibly getting their own, and then them throwing people like Captain Marvel in there, possibly. And maybe even, okay, no, Thor has to be part of the Avengers.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking
So
that
you're
would
thinking
be
like
interesting.
everyone kind of related to like more of like space. So,
Yeah.
Like, you know, the Avengers are so like relegated to Earth, so everyone relegated to space would be part of like
Their own.
a Guardians of the Galaxy, or even just like a different character also.
Yeah.
But I feel like here's the issue. We got to get our boy Spider-Man a deck.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
I
Think
feel like
about like,
Spider-Man.
okay,
That's
but
printing-
how funny.
You print the money.
You
Who
print-
wants to print money? Wizards of the Coast, they want to print money. If I was a company, I want to print it too.
But here's the question. Does Spider-Man make it in simply because of the Disney and Sony deals that have like the constant back and forth between Disney and Sony on who has more right over Spider-Man? Is he part of the deal?
Well, he's part of Sony, but they work with Marvel because that just makes them more money.
Yes, print money.
So
honey.
I think with how good a relationship that they have, I don't think Sony's gonna have an issue.
With them making cards.
Yeah,
and
relegating
stuff.
the rights.
But here's my
They
other
still get their
question.
cut and everything.
If Spider-Man gets his own deck, is that like the whole like Spiderverse? Like
Exactly.
that would be so okay. Think about this, like an
Spider-Verse.
elf tribal typal deck, right? Like
Spider-Man, tribal.
because you could do that. Because there's so many versions of Spider-Man.
Oh my God.
That would be enough cards for a whole commander deck.
Yeah.
How hilarious
Yeah.
would a Spider-Man typal deck be?
Because then you can have all the Venom, all the versions
All the
Venom,
Venom.
Carnage, like all the symbiotes. Then you could have
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales, all the different versions.
Peter,
of
Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen deck with Miles Morales' partner. Woo!
That would be sick.
That is crazy. And then you have it look like the Spider-Verse art. Well, they probably wouldn't do that
Yeah.
because we've seen with like the Lord of the Rings set that.
They like to put their own like artistic.
Yeah, the art with I think the whole set in general, you're not gonna see like, you know, Chris Hemsworth's face on Thor in the card. You're not gonna see that. I think.
As much as I want to.
Yeah, you're not even gonna see like the art from like a comic book unless they straight up have the comic book artist make the art, and
that would be sick.
Could be crazy.
And I really do think
they will do that.
I
Oh,
think
man, that's
they
gonna be
will,
crazy.
but it's going to be the year. Those collector boosters, gonna be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's gonna be some cards in there that are pricey.
And they go back. Oh wait, collector boxes $200. I meant to say collector boosters $200.
And so I think that I really do. I think they are. They have some. There's some amazing comic book artists out there that I've already worked with Wizards of the Coast, and I do think that they will be like, "Ayo, we need you to just make 1 billion comic book alternate art."
Yeah.
And again, going back to that foil, if they don't do like comic book foil, I'm gonna be pissed
They will.
because they
will.
have to. It would look so good.
Yeah.
I think so many people would just be excited about it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think there's definitely a question of whether or not Spider-Man gets in due to like company agreements. I think he will, but that also could be me on copium.
No, I think he will. I don't think it's Kobe.
Well, I think it's just best for business for both of them.
Yeah.
And oh man, and a Spider-Man gets his own commander deck. I think that everyone's gonna lose their mind.
I'm pretty sure he's in Marvel Snap.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, so I just think they're Sony and
they're being chilling.
Yeah,
they're good.
They're in good. Yeah, they have good relations. My question is, how many do you think like deep cut
references?
Not even I was gonna say straight up here like villains and heroes like that aren't as popular. Like like for me, right? I would want like the symbiote god. Like that has not been like no movies, no. That's like pretty new in the comics. Like
that would be really cool.
That would be really cool. There's tons of versions of like War Hulk where he like is intelligent and he's like a warmonger and he goes and he like conquers worlds.
Yeah.
Like there's tons of different like versions of these characters. How many do you think we get of like more the deep cuts?
I honestly would appreciate if they I would appreciate if they did a lot, because the thing is, as much as I am 23, and so for me, like, the Marvel movies came out when we were kids. Like, I think what the first Avengers movie, or how long ago was the Iron Man movie created? Like,
that was like 2009 or 10, if I remember right. You keep going and I'll look it up.
But anyway, we grew up with this version of Marvel, but the Magic community, like, the age range is like pretty
that was close. 2008.
It came out in 2008. Yeah. Okay, so we were 8 years old when the first Iron Man movie came out. Yeah. And I think the age range of the Magic the Gathering community is so big. I think it would only be fair if they, because, you know, as much as like to us those comic book references and those bit more like niche references to older Marvel you know, characters, we won't understand as much, but we'll think they're very cool.
Yes.
There are people in this community who lived and breathed those comics.
Oh, yeah.
And will appreciate those cards so much.
Yeah.
And so I really do think if they're smart about it, they'll do a 50-50 kind of cut reference. Or, and I was actually also thinking about this back to a kind of our Commander conversation. I could see them doing like having like one of the, much like how in Doctor Who, one of the decks was literally all of the old Doctors, like from the original series, not in the revival series of Doctor Who. I could see them doing that with a whole deck. It's all comic. It's all the old comics. It has nothing to do with any of the new movies. It has nothing to do with the shows. It's all everything from like 2000 and before.
How many Wizards of the Coast to make 6 Commander decks this time?
Can you just keep printing the money?
I know I complain.
I'll give you the money.
I complain a lot about the products. Make more. Make more
keep
for me.
Doing
Please.
it. We only. Oh, by the way, everyone, we counted our Commander decks the other day. How many do we have?
We're those people. We have 30 Commander decks, and
30 or more.
People are gonna sit back and be like, "What are you guys doing?" But here's what we like to do. We like to get the deck because they're just fun.
Our favorite format's Commander.
It's Commander. We basically only play Commander for the most part, and then we just upgraded it to be a little bit more powerful and fun. And we have a lot of casual friends, so it's easy to be like,
pick a deck, any deck.
Let's roll for a deck.
You don't like this one? We got this one. You don't like this one? We got this one.
Super fun. And then like decks we don't like, we'll just like get rid of them, or some for cards, or whatever.
Or we'll take the cards out that we haven't. Even though we haven't even done that once.
But we will. We will. I swear.
We counted our decks last weekend and had that moment of like, okay, maybe we should start scrapping some of these for parts that we've like never touched. Since because there's been decks that we've bought, we've tried, and we just did not like. No. It wasn't a hit for us.
Yeah.
And
some of those older decks. Woo, they got some dust on them. Yeah, they're not very good. But I think how I see this like Marvel thing panning out is if you want a lot of those like specific heroes or this or that, they're gonna try and get you to buy packs. You're gonna buy collector packs. You're gonna buy play boosters. There's gonna be we'll do a podcast on play boosters eventually. Play boosters.
And for those of you who do not know what play boosters are, they are obsoleting draft and set boosters, combining them as one, and they will be play boosters.
Yeah.
But draft, but like it for those of you who play draft, you will
still
still
use play
play
boosters.
draft. You'll just use play boosters instead of draft boosters.
Yes.
But they will hopefully serve the same purpose.
Yes.
And I do think that's kind of getting rid of that middleman of like there's draft, set, and then collector. I think they're maybe trying to deter people from thinking like, oh, I can just get a set booster and then probably it's a lot cheaper than a collector booster, but I can still get some some nicer cards.
The reason is they said it straight up was draft boosters were selling so little that it was going to go away anyways. So
our light turned off. Turn it on.
No, it probably ran out of battery.
Oh.
Yeah, we need to have like a plug-in for it eventually.
Okay, well that's fine.
That's a good opportunity to see how long we've been going. We're at 30 minutes. Okay, we want to.
Cool. Well, I want to talk about some like flavor like cards that I want to see, and then we can end it off.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, now that our lights turned off, let's go back to what you were talking about.
So I also want to talk about very specific cards that both of us want to see from things in Marvel that we enjoy. Like, give me the name of a card that you want to see. Like, a card that if you could create one, not necessarily, and that could just be a creature, or it could be an enchantment, or like we were talking about with the Infinity Stones. And like a mechanic thing.
Okay.
So one that I want to see, I like silly shenanigans.
Okay.
I love the silly cuts. I would love if there was a instant called Get Help.
Okay.
Referencing the Get Help scene from Thor Ragnarok.
Okay.
And I guess when you played this, maybe it could be when you declare an attacker or someone declares a blocker or whatever, it's an instant that like you create like a 5/5 thing with haste that's tapped and attacking or whatever after that person declares blockers, and so then it just hits them.
Okay.
Or something like that. So you're getting help. Or just something along the lines of getting support during your attack phase.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be a very funny card.
Okay.
We already kind of touched on the different Spider-Man variants and stuff like that.
It's hard for me because when there's so many things that you're just like, what do you want? And you're like,
I don't know.
You give me too many options. When you're like, all of Marvel, what do you want? It's like, nothing now. I think Wolverine, just like having something dedicated to Wolverine. I know we will get something like that, but like that'd be just huge to me. I think something related to I do want some partner mechanics. I really love having two commanders in the command zone that are like both cheap or having cards that pull out the cards from your deck. First thing is just like great value. Love that, especially when people are like balancing your commanders and then commander attacks. It's good to have two commanders that can kind of like weakly synergize off each other. And I just think Spider-Man, he's just like prime for that with like Spiderverse and like Miles Morales,
maybe Miles Morales is partnered with Peter or with Spider-Gwen or something along those lines.
I'm really like looking forward to that. And just like in general, artifacts. It sounds like crazy, but like think about it. There are so many cool like artifacts when it comes to the Infinity Gauntlet and all the Infinity Stones. Thor's like hammer or Thor's axe. You have like the ships, the vehicles. You have like the Guardians of the Galaxy's ship. That's be an awesome vehicle. You have the Iron Man suit. I know like that would be, you think that to go with Iron Man, but like you could have something that's like the suit or whatever. You know?
Like it's like the Iron Man suit and then Tony Stark is a step, and you can like equip it to him for free or something like that. You know what?
They can, as they repurpose cards, have like an unnatural growth, and it's just like Hulk's rage.
That would, because I know in the Doctor Who set it was like they had 50 new cards for each commander deck, but then they also had 50 cards that were just got new art and stuff and were repurposed.
Or if you had Bruce Banner flip card.
That would be sick. Cool, that would be sick.
Yeah, like Bruce, and then he's like very like he's like a maybe like white. He's a white card, and he like synergizes really well. And then after he does a bunch of shenanigans, he flips into like a card that's way more. It goes from a card that's like super focused on buffing other people and like creating synergy to like you flip it, and then he just becomes like super strong and he's a green character. It's a green.
I think flip cards would be very good. Like it's like because there's like Steve Rogers, and then there's Captain America,
Yeah.
or, you know, Tony Stark, Iron Man, and I think flip cards could be, so it's like basically all of their public, you know, like their and
Peter
then
Parker,
yeah, and then their secret identities and stuff like that. I think that would be really creative and super fun. I also just got a sad idea, which they did this with Doctor Who, and they do this sometimes. No, but it's like, it was just like Mr. like a card that's like, I don't feel so good, or like Mr. Stark, and then it's just the scene of like the Spider-Man like disintegrating away, or and I just got one from the Andrew Garfield version of Spider-Man where he's not quick enough, and then Gwen Stacy dies.
Oh, that would be
and it's the
crazy.
scene of her like hanging like this, and it's just like the card's like not fast enough or something like that, because in Doctor Who they did a lot of those like emotional deep cuts to episodes and moments in Doctor Who that were just soul wrenching.
Yeah, they go for those. Or when Thanos, like, obviously the snap has to be a card. That's gonna be a card. But
I am inevitable. Oh my god.
There's that, but also I was thinking when Thor hits him, he's like, you should have went for the head, and then you should have like having something where it like saves your creature, or it makes him like, I don't know, it makes him indestructible, or it gives him a +1/+1 counter. So you instant after I don't know how you do that. Somehow you like make it so that when they look like they're gonna die, it barely doesn't kill them. Yeah. And it's like, should wait for the head.
Also, can we talk about how I'm going to need Bro Thor as a card? Like Fat Thor. Oh as a card. I need him as a card. That'd be so funny.
That'd be sick.
There's a lot of funny cards that I want from like references from the movies, and then a lot, of sad ones that I think would just, you know, tear out people's hearts and souls and be like, wow, they really did that. Yeah. Like how, you know, the farewell card from Doctor Who or the Fornox card from Doctor Who did that to me. Yeah. And so I think that it would be beneficial.
All the times Uncle Ben has died, they're definitely gonna have an Uncle Ben card. They're going to have an Uncle Ben card, guys.
The multitudes of times Uncle Ben is
the infinite amount of times. It's a canon event.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
See, that's the thing. It's like a spider web. You know, you start connecting.
The canon event needs to be a card.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. We could just keep going and going and going with like different things. Like, oh my god, Canna.
I'm gonna go buy the Spider-Man game. Now I'm hyped about Marvel.
Oh my god.
Everything I said at the beginning of the podcast,
forget it.
Just delete
it from your brain.
This is where it's at its best. But I think, for closing thoughts for me, and is just, I think the most exciting part about this set, besides like obviously the Commander and getting more casual players in, that's gonna be a huge influx of new players. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest thing for me is just the art, because for some reason I didn't even think about how insane the comic book art, and just having the artist who's drawn those characters before, and the new interpretations of those art, like the art in this set is going to go nuts. It's just going to go nuts, and I didn't even consider that until we were talking about it. So that and the foil treatments, all the look of it is going to be crazy.
For me, the thing I'm most looking forward to are kind of the flavor text things. So like at the flavor text at the bottom of the card, or just the effects. So like obviously there's the title of the card, but then like there's the card effect. Yeah. And in Doctor Who, I really liked a lot of the card effects had super clever names. Yeah. And so like go for the head could be like, you know, one of Thor's abilities, or it's like you should have gone for the head, like is an effect on Thanos, like a card with Thanos on it. That's like that instant you were talking about. Or I could do this all day. Captain America, that's an effect that he has, you know, and it gives him vigilance. Yeah. And so I think there's so many funny references that could be made in the effects and in the flavor text that I am very much looking forward to. Yeah. And I guess that would be my kind of closing thought for me about the set. I'm very excited about it.
It's one thing. Sorry, there's one thing I just thought about it. The mutate. When we talk about mutate,
oh my god,
it's just like it's sunk in my head, guys. I love mutate.
He's obsessed. He wants more mutate.
I want more mutate. My mutate deck sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. I need to make it better. But Venom. mutates on Venom, and he connects them onto people, and then maybe he's a flip card too. So if you specifically mutate onto a Spider-Man card, he becomes the Black Spider-Man that's like I'm gonna call Gavin. Gavin, this one needs to be done.
Gavin's like,
who are you? Who are you? I don't even know who you are.
I don't even know. Okay, yes, we know you're obsessed with Mutate Baby.
Okay.
But
I'll let you actually close out thoughts.
But I agree. I think that would be like, as much as Mutate is not the most popular mechanic, I think that would be that would be really sick. Yeah. Closing out, thank you everyone so much for watching. Please let us know how you feel about the Marvel set as a whole. We don't even know anything about it. This is all, I wanted to make this episode of the podcast because honestly, I just like saying what if. Yeah. I love saying what if. We both love saying what if. I want to hear your what ifs. You're like, what if they did this? Like things that we didn't talk about, maybe things we did talk about, but you're elaborating more on. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this 2025 release Marvel X Magic the Gathering set, what you want to see, what you're excited for, what you're maybe not excited for, how you feel about the announcement in general, and please let us know in the comments below. I usually respond within about 24 hours of each comment, and that's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the first episode ever of the Gathering Around the Table podcast. And we will see you guys in the next episode where we will be talking about the Final Fantasy X Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond set. Thank you everyone so much for listening. Please subscribe to support this channel. And we will see you guys in the next podcast episode. Bye!